Yes, I can hear you, Miss Sabor, loud and clear. Can you hear me? Thank you so much, Miss Sabor, for that amazing introduction. I so appreciate it. Just like I appreciate working with you and learning everything from you as well. Those tips were just amazing, and I'm just so excited that we are friends and on this wonderful journey of entrepreneurship together. So thank you so much again for everything. So welcome to the call, Superwoman. I'm so happy that everybody could make it today. We always provide really good value for you guys, so I'm so happy that everybody is here. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, I hope this thing is working. Last week I tried to do it and I don't know what happened. So if you're on Facebook Live, then welcome. And this is my segment to the Superwoman Sunday Success Series, which is presented by WeAreMillionaireMinded.com. You can check out our website as well. But so every single Sunday, we provide a place where we can charge up and energize for the week ahead, especially for women. It is called Superwoman Success, but men are invited too. So today, what I want to talk about is the top five money mistakes that you want to avoid at all costs. Superwomen on the line, like literally at all costs, you want to avoid these things. So I want to start off just by saying, I know finances can be scary, right? But that doesn't mean that you can avoid them. So you have to focus on your finances, because what ends up happening is unfortunately, like when your emotions or when our emotions, me included, and this is not just a woman thing, men too, when emotions are high, our logic is low, right? So what'll happen is things will happen in our lives where it causes us to react. We have to do something right away. Something happens, something breaks, we got to get our car fixed, we got to get the boiler fixed or something like that. And it throws us in a tailspin and we aren't able to think logically, right? So what you want to do to avoid that is, first, let's avoid these five pitfalls, right, that I'm going to go over shortly. But you also want to just take a little bit of time to plan. So the thing is, like, a lot of Americans, we have a lot of money, more than we actually think, right? Most Americans, we have enough money definitely to pay our day-to-day bills, but more importantly, we also even have enough money that can create wealth for ourselves and for our families. But the problem is we just don't know what to do, and we end up not taking the proper precautions into doing so. Right? So what I want to go over is these 5 tips that you guys can follow pretty simply. The 5 things that you want to avoid at all costs. So, before we get started, let me just say that one of the things that when I say that we have a lot of money, but at the same time, we think that we don't. And that's because we overspend, right? And our expenses are too high. And so, for example, let's say if I make $1 million, right, but my expenses are $2 million, then I can really only live for 6 months out the year comfortably before I start trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, and I'm balancing everything, and I'm floating checks or floating money, taking money from here to pay there and stuff like that, right? But on the other hand, let's say you make $80,000 a year, but your expenses are only $40,000. Now, what that means is that you can live for like 2 years comfortably, where I can only live for 6 months, right? Because your expenses are low. So we want to keep that in mind, and that's one of the things that you can always think about, that I really want you guys on the line to think about, especially when trying to create wealth for yourself and trying to just take charge of your life, especially with your finances, right? So number one thing that you definitely want to avoid at all costs is you want to stay away from payday loans, okay? Sometimes, like I said, if you don't have a lot of money, you're kind of trying to balance things, you're juggling things, you have something that you absolutely have to pay, right? You have to pay it. Maybe your emotions are a little bit high and you aren't thinking that logically. Listen, the thing with payday loans is that it is a loan, okay? And a lot of times they charge like these ridiculous amount of interest on these loans. Some of them may even be like 30%, something crazy, right? The problem is that if you don't have enough money this week, right, what makes you think you're going to have enough money next week after they take out your 30%? And so you'll just end up on this hamster wheel where you are constantly trying to catch up. And unfortunately, it's so difficult. And a lot of people end up not catching up. And they end up doing other drastic measures to get out of this hell that they put themselves in. So if you don't, if you have a problem with your cash flow right now, there's so many other ways that you can go about it, but you want to not like literally avoid at all costs a payday loan. Tomorrow evening, I'm actually hosting a webinar where I'll be going through how you can give yourself a raise without your boss's permission. So if you're having any problems with your cash flow, make sure that you tune into that. So the other thing that I do want to point out with the payday loan is that they are not even dischargeable in bankruptcy. So sometimes people may think like, oh, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to just write everything off. I'm going to file bankruptcy. I'm going to file bankruptcy. The thing with payday loans is that they renew every 30 days because they're slick, right? It's in the fine print. They renew every 30 days. So it's always new on your report. So if you do go to file bankruptcy, it's going to look like it's something that you just did, even if you did it 6 to 7 months ago, because they renew every 30 days. Okay, so you want to avoid those at all costs, okay? Number two, what you want to avoid at all costs is never, ever, 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 okay, borrow money from your 401k. And here's why. Again, whatever it is, it can absolutely wait. Whatever it is that you have to pay for, and you want to put yourself in a financial situation where you don't have these emergencies, right? And that's coming up on the list too, where you don't have these emergencies that you have to borrow money from different places. Because what happens if you take out money from your 401k before it's time for your retirement, not only do you have to pay taxes on that money because you put it in there tax-free, so remember that, then you have to pay a penalty to the government for taking that money out. So again, it's like your lack of money is going to constantly cost you money. So you don't want to be in a situation where you have to borrow against this 401k, and then it puts you in a worse situation than you were before. And then even worse than that, now when it's time for you to retire, depending on how much you take out, now you have to work longer because you took out $20,000, $40,000. And remember that that's money that could have been sitting in your retirement account and growing. So even though you may take out $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever, in the next 20 years, who knows how much that could really be, dependent on your investment portfolio that you have everything in your 401k. Because of the compounding interest, you actually you'll never even know the amount of money that you're actually costing yourself by taking that money out early. So avoid that at all costs, okay? Do not take that money out no matter what. Number three, don't spend every single dime that you make, every single penny. That's a huge problem that a lot of us in America we have, because we live in a society where it's instant gratification, right? We want everything and we want it fast. So we get paid. We already know how we're going to spend our paycheck. As soon as we get paid, we're planning, saying like, oh, I'm going to get that Friday when I get paid. Oh, when I get paid, I'm going to do this. When I get paid, I'm going to do that. I'm going out. I'm paying, right? Don't do that, okay? Because what happens is now you end up in those situations where you don't have enough money and you're thinking about taking out a payday loan. You're thinking about withdrawing money from your 401k. Don't spend every single dime that you have. Okay, so super women on the line, what you want to do is you really want to get in the habit of saving money. It's really a habit. And we don't want to save just to save. One of my mentors from afar, Robert Kiyosaki, he always says, like, saving is for losers. And he's like, with the L over his face, right? Which means that you really want to save for a purpose. So you want to save for a purpose and not just to save, but you have to start, right? So what you want to start with is at least 20% of your pre-tax money, right? Just start saving with that. Send it out automatically. As soon as you get paid, it goes right into a savings account and then ultimately into like your emergency fund and your investment account and things like that. But you just do not want to get in the habit of where you have like $5 in your bank account before your direct deposit hits when you get paid. You want to be able to actually, unless you plan it that way. Okay, let me just be clear. If that was your plan because you budget to only have a certain amount in your checking account and now that money is spent because that's what you allocated it for, then that's perfect. Okay, that's perfect. But you don't want to get in the habit of looking at your account and seeing that it's money in there and then just buy whatever because it's money in there. Now, when something comes out of your account, automatic withdrawal that you forgot about, now it throws you into a tailspin, right? And now you're upset and you're paying late fees again because your lack of money can cost you money, but it comes from a lack of planning. So let's just try to plan this stuff out. Okay, Superwomen. Number 4, don't spend too much on housing, right? So the thing is this, you really don't want to spend more than 30% of your pre-tax monthly income on your rent or your mortgage. A lot of us, we have a problem with living above our means, beyond our means. It's just one of the things that we have a problem with, right? We're trying to keep up with the Joneses. A lot of us may be trying to impress people, or you may just be trying to live in a really nice neighborhood, right? Because maybe the school system is good over there, and that's where you want your kids to go to school. That's fine. But it should not be more than 30% of your pre-tax income, because what will end up happening is you don't want to get in a situation where you are struggling to even pay your rent. Okay, it's one thing to struggle to pay your bills, but you have to have a roof over your head. So you want to be in a situation where you can live comfortably, okay, and you are not, again, robbing Peter to pay Paul, or thinking about taking out payday loans, or thinking about borrowing money from your 401k. So the rule for that is 30%. If you're in a situation right now where you are, in a lease, then you want to try to maybe think about moving if you aren't going to be earning any extra money in the upcoming year when your lease is up. Then think about moving, because it can really be really stressful for you to pay this rent that's too much. And 5, last and definitely not least, absolutely have your emergency fund set up in place. If you notice, Superwomen on the line, that all these things had a kind of a common thing, and the common thing is that when our emotions are high, right, our logical thinking is low, and we have to be able to plan this stuff and really be able to think out what we need to do with our money. A lot of this stuff, if you plan properly and you have an emergency fund in place, you aren't thinking about going into your 401k. You are not thinking about going to a payday loan place, right? You're not thinking about spending all of your money as soon as you get paid, right? So you want to make sure that you have your emergency fund set up in place. You want to start today, okay? If you have not started already, make sure that you start saving up money for your emergency fund, and that's just in case anything happens, because it's life, right? We never know what's going to happen, but you just want to always be prepared. So make sure that you have your emergency fund, and again, that is 6 months, at least 6 months. Some say 8, right? But at least 6 months of your monthly expenses saved up just for a rainy day. If anything happens, you have to get a new, something on your car, tires or something like that. You don't want to be in a situation where it ends up making you spiral out of control. Okay, so that is all that I have for you lovely, lovely super women this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and introduce our next speaker to the call.